All right, folks, welcome on into another edition of the High School Huddle, your one-stop shop for everything and all things Section 5 sports. I'm AJ Feldman. He's Carl Jones. We are back to preview some sectional action. The Bills have calmed down. The Amherst have been eliminated. It seems like the Amherst happened like a month ago, but it was like 2 weeks ago when we were still coming around the Amherst, making our lives difficult. But we are back and better than ever, and it's time for sectional championships, Carl.
We're back at a good time. This is the time of year where the kiddos one game seasons at this point. So it's all dope. It's all cool. The energy's a little higher this time of year. You know, the kids are yelling a little bit more. I caught a little bit of the quarterfinal actions for flag football and likewise with baseball as well. And you can just tell the energy's ramped up a bit. And that's always dope to see from our perspective. And I can't wait to see, once again, my phrase, I can't wait to see how this all shakes out.
Yeah, the energy is heating up. The temperature is heating up. Summer is finally here. The air conditioner running on full blast here at the Feldman house. I do want to say Carl's mic, a little bit of problems today. So if you notice a little echo, we apologize for all the kids out there. But we're doing our best to get this show on the road. However, let's get right into the action. We got a lot of stuff to preview. But first, we're going to do a little bit of recap of the flag football championships that happened this past week on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll start with the Class B championships. First game of the evening was an upset. Athena taking down Batavia, shutting them out 13-0. Batavia, we talked a lot about their dynamic offense in recent weeks. They had averaged nearly 35 points per game. They were shut out. Athena lost to Batavia, first game of the season, 38-6. They beat them 13-0 in the championship game. Anna Form with 2 passing touchdowns. Emily Montagliano and Kate Rayburn with the 2 grabs there. So Athena, the Class B1 champions, in Class B2, Bishop Kearney getting it done 20-13 over Gananda, completing, well, I guess, capping off their undefeated regular season with a sectional championship. We'll see how far they go. Greta Brzezinski, the quarterback, 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown as Bishop Kearney gets the championship. And then in Class A, Penfield beats Arcadia 31-13. Molly Brown, a pair of highlight plays, a pick 6 to start off the second half, and then a 64-yard receiving touchdown to end the first half as Arcadia was getting a little momentum. They were trying to get down by just a touchdown at the half. They scored right before, some momentum. Molly Brown snatched it just like that. So 3 flag football championships this week at Monroe Community College.
Shout out to the ladies, man. I love the sport, man. It's truly cool to see how it's taken off. I mean, it began, 3 years ago at this point in 2022, and to see the heights that has risen now. I mean, you talk about that Athena game, and the quality of the game has changed so much from year to year. But think about within the same season. I mean, they got played off the field in week 1. And the fact they turned things around and made them put up a goose egg, shut them out. No bueno, no end zone, none of that. That's really impressive to see. So shout out to Athena for doing that. Especially, I saw the highlights from the Batavia win over Monroe, so I know the type of ladies that got over there, Anna Varland being the one that I know off the top of my head. And for them to do that, that's really, really impressive.
Yeah, and I will say just about, these girls learning football, etc., things like that. That Molly Brown pick 6, that was on 4th down. The play before it was 3rd down. Arcadia went out to their top receiver, quick little bubble screen. She got about 6 of a possible 8 yards. So the 4th down, they had to go for it. I mean, I'm just thinking in my head, all right, they're going to do the same exact thing. They're just going to go for her, little bubble screen, get the 1st down. We move the chains. Molly Brown thought the same exact thing. Pick 6. If that was a Carl Jones calling this on Football Frenzy, you would have been calling her Micah Hyde patrolling the backfield, call her up on Sundays. I could just hear your call echoing through my head. Molly Brown showing her athleticism, her skills, and her football knowledge on the field last night.
I actually saw that highlight last night, and man, listen, everything about it was awesome. The only thing that would have made it a 10 out of 10, because it was a 9.9, when you're that close to the end zone, let's do some Deion Sanders high steps. All right, y'all had the champion. I don't say the game wasn't within like wraps at that point, but you feel me? Do a little high step, prime time or whatever. But that's the next step. Shout out to her for jumping that right there. That is music to my ears, and I just loved everything about that play.
Yeah, and Carl, you got the chance to go out to Arcadia earlier in their week, kind of do a story on the growth of flag football. Any big takeaways you want to share with the viewing public here?
Yeah, that this sport isn't going anywhere. This is going to get even bigger, especially at the collegiate level. Athletic directors across the country, in particular one here, thinks within the next 5 years, it's going to be a full-fledged sport at the collegiate level, which is really encouraging to see. Right, it's already an NAIA sport at like about 2 dozen schools across the country, and it's going to get even bigger. 9 states have it as a sanctioned sport. A lot of those in the South, as you can imagine, but New York is the lone school up north, which is kind of cool to see. The Olympics has it as a flag football, has it as a sport in 2028. So when they come to the States in a few years, that sport will be there. So maybe, who knows, a couple of these ladies here in Section 5 will be able to do it. But the biggest takeaway, the reason why it is taking off, for 2 reasons. It's affordable. I mean, all you need is a flag and a ball. Like with some of the other sports, especially in the spring, equipment for lacrosse and bats for softball and baseball. All you need is just a ball and a flag. So it's really easy in that regard. And then also just the options that the girls have in the spring are a little bit limited at times. Flag football gives them another option to play it. So I'm all for it. It's really dope to see how it's taken off in such a short span.
Yeah, and I will say this, talking about the growth of flag football, I can see us, us, the media, in about 3-5 years doing stories about how flag football might be getting too big. And we're starting to get some pushback from, these softball and lacrosse and track and field teams about how, their numbers are now going down because flag, it's a fun time. I mean, guys and boys like playing football for a reason. It's a fun game, and now the girls can get on the fun in kind of a full-fledged manner. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that progresses in the future. So let's switch our attention to the championships coming up this week. We've got sectional finals. We've got state tournaments on the near future. One thing we want to note, we're recording this on Thursday, the 23rd. There's a lot of stuff going on tonight. Every single softball semifinal game, a handful of girls lacrosse games, a handful of baseball games. So it's a quasi, we preview as much as we can while, not trying to hype up a team too much that's going to lose by the time you hear this. So bear with us. But first, we're going to start off with a player that you're looking forward to watching in the next couple of weeks or so as they progress towards throughout the playoffs. Carl, your player you've got your eyes on this championship season.
Mr. Connor Osier out there at Athena for baseball. Bring it back a bit as to why I'm intrigued with him. A few years ago, he was on Football Frenzy for like a highlight reel catch. He was like the tall dude out there in the end zone, tight end. I'm like, man, really impressive dude. Shout out to Mr. Osier. It was one of those big back and forth games that always happened at Athena that year. Yeah. And then I saw him on the court this year. I'm like, all right, then, like he's not one of the Reeves brothers, and he was out there making plays. And I'm like, okay, he's cool, he's dope. And then when I went to do the story, I see a Houston hat on his head. I'm like, no disrespect. I'm like, but I know it's not for hoops. So like, what you got a Houston hat on you for? Like, Houston's far from like upstate New York. And he goes, oh yeah, I'm committed to play baseball there. I'm like, buddy, I should be talking to you right now. Like, no disrespect to the Reeves, I should be talking to you. So I was locked into like their schedule and seeing what they were gonna do. A few weeks ago, I caught their game against Spencerport. He was on the mound, did his thing. I think he allowed just one run, and I believe it was off a fielder's choice or something like that, or maybe a pass ball. But regardless, he's dope. He's doing his thing right now. I believe in a few hours, Athena's gonna play Irondequoit. Irondequoit, yeah. So listen, hopefully he doesn't lay an egg tonight, but he's great in the box as he is on the mound as well. Big dude. I believe he's like 6'5". You can't miss him when he's out there. He's not like one of those miniature guys. You can see why Houston wanted him. And to hammer home the fact about how impressive of an athlete he is, Houston's the South. SOUF. To play baseball, Division I baseball down there, and to grab a kid from upstate New York, you clearly got some tools that are intriguing. So that's why he's someone that I'm interested to see how far he can take them. He's also a pretty darn good batter. I believe he had like a 3-run homer a few weeks ago as well. So that's one player where I want to see how far he can take them. And the rest of the team is really good, so it isn't like a carry job over there at Athena. But he in particular is someone who I have my eye on.
Yeah, and Athena has a kind of a storied recent history, certainly of churning out baseball products. Casey Sawkey, who's playing at Virginia right now, doing his thing. He was at Athena. I got the chance to see him My first year here. He's got a brother, Samuel Saki, Sam Saki, who's also on Athena. And I think, I don't know if he's going to be quite as good, but I think he's pretty darn good himself. So Athena is certainly going to be a team to watch coming down the stretch as they look to repeat as sectional champions. My player I've got my eyes on, a sport that we don't talk about too much here, tennis. Mr. Drew Fishback from Geneva. He finished third in the state tournament last year. He won his Class B1 title this year. I believe it was his third straight sectional title. I could be wrong there. He did not lose a game in the entire sectional tournament. So he's got his eyes set for more than just B1 Section 5 tennis. And the thing I want to point out here, we don't see tennis a lot. These players, for the most part, they're kind of just names we see on Twitter and, in the DNC and stuff. I started to look into a little Drew Fishback here. So there's this website called tennisrecruitingnetwork.net, which I'm going to go on a limb and say that they know their stuff about tennis. It seems to be the de facto site for, tennis, junior tennis, etc. Mr. Drew Fishback for the junior class of 2025, number 9 in the country. Number 9 in the country for Mr. Drew Fishback. He's second in New York State. So we got a top 10 player in the entire country playing for the Geneva Panthers down in the Finger Lakes in Class B1. The kid he lost to in the state championships last year, they lost in the semifinal round, and he ended up winning the state tournament. Not playing this year. Kid's going to Yale. He's, doing some more, professional type things, amateur tournaments, whatever, this, that, and the third. So Drew Fishback, one of, if not the favorites for the individual boys tennis title coming up. They got the state qualifier in Section 5 coming up tomorrow on Friday. Not going to be a problem for Drew, and we'll see if he can go all the way and win a state championship.
It's funny you mentioned him because last weekend I was able to go out to the sectional team titles between Fairport and Hilton, and watching the boys go at it. It was cool to see. I haven't seen high school tennis up close like that from the boys' perspective, so it was cool. And then a parent / coach, I'm not gonna out anyone here, pulled me to the side and was just like, "Hey, like I'm really like always. Hey, we're happy that you guys are here. These boys needed attention." I'm like, "Yeah, man, it was cool to see, especially that top singles match." And he goes, "You have no idea." I'm like, "What you mean?" He goes, "This is kid out there in Geneva. I don't know if they can return his serve." I said, "You lying? You lying? Like no way." And then he was like, "I'm not lying." I didn't think nothing about it for like 6 days, y'all. Then AJ brings it up. I'm like, oh, he not lying. He not lying at all. So I think that hammers home about like in the tennis community that Mr. Fishback he ain't no joke. Like he's the real deal. The whole Section 5 area, they've given him his flowers, and now over here at News 8, we're putting some respect on his name as well, because clearly I was out the loop on this one. I had no idea my boy was this nice. So shout out to him for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, they put out on this website, or it could have been another website, I'm sure. Like the world tennis rankings. Obviously, it's Novak Djokovic, Alcaraz at the top, but it goes all the way down. They play in a lot of terms, so they can configure this stuff. I saw something like this where he's number like 2,000 something in the entire world, which I don't know if this is a fake max preps rankings like they do for trying to rank teams, or it really means nothing. But still, props to Drew. Keep doing your thing. We might have to get out there next year and talk about our tennis phenom over there in Geneva. We're going to move now from our players to our storylines. We can't wait to see how they all shake out in the next coming weeks. Carl, what you got your eyes on?
Yeah, we're going to go over to the boys lacrosse, Irondequoit. Can they return a sectional title back to the west side of town? I know I'm relatively new to the area, and I know one thing, that the east side of town has been dominating for as long as bread has been a thing in terms of lacrosse. And Irondequoit, although they've had some recent success, I believe the last title was in 2012, the sport in general has been a east side town thing. But don't get it twisted. This year, as AJ and I have talked about ad nauseum on this podcast, Irondequoit is the real deal. They're heading all the way, I believe, in their sectional final round against Canandaigua tomorrow. The dates are...
Yep, tomorrow for Friday for the semifinals.
And Canandaigua good. Y'all know that. Irondequoit already beat them this year. So this isn't like some flukish thing. Also have a win over Fairport, HFL, and Pittsburgh. The only blemish that they have of recent memory, they won 11 out of the last 12, was against Victor, who is also in Class B with them as well. It was an 8-4 game. So it wasn't like they got outclassed in that performance, in that game as well. So is this the year that Irondequoit can pull off back-to-back upsets, assuming Victor gets to that final round as well? That would be a cool thing for them. It will be obviously on the backs of Cooper Moore, just a sophomore, 72 points this year, as well as Jonah Carrier with 50 as well. We've talked about all year. Victor, class of their own, nationally ranked. Same with Canandaigua, pretty good as well. We've given Irondequoit their flowers. Is it time to put them on that pedestal with those other two juggernauts? That will be determined over the next 5 or 6 days or so.
Yeah, Irondequoit tested in the first round against Thomas. They won in overtime in that game. But yeah, I mean, you got a guy like Jonah Carrier. We talk all the time about face-offs in lacrosse. You got a guy of his caliber in the face-off circle, in the dot and whatnot. You're always going to have a chance. He's going to have a really great performance. Cooper Moore as well. Especially, you get a team like Victor and Canandaigua to an extent who can play such great defense. You can key on those top players really well, and it's about the other guys around them as well. So we'll see how all that shakes out. It should be some great lacrosse. Friday for the semifinals, and then Monday, I believe, for the championship games in boys lacrosse. Could be wrong on that. My storyline I'm watching are golfers. Talking a lot of individual sports today. Last year, I think kind of a storyline that got kind of brushed under the rug a little bit just based on, the nature of the sport, this, that, and the third. Our golf team ran away with the team title last year at the state tournament last year. They won by 41 shots as a team. We had 4 golfers finish tied for 5th or better, and a lot of them are coming back. Brody Burgess finished 2nd last year, tied for 1st. He lost in the playoff. Matt Carpentier finished tied for 5th. Danny Whaley finished tied for 5th. All those 3 guys are back. Owen Corby graduated. And they were putting on a show this past week in the sectional tournament. The 2-round combined event, Danny Whaley and Richard Essen, both from McQuaid, finished -3 for the 2-day event, which a lot of pressure, everything counts. You play it like it lies, tournament conditions, all that, adds up. It's really tough to put together a score like that. They really showed out. Matt Carpentier was the day 1 medalist. He finished even par overall. Ethan Domenko, he won the Monroe County Tournament of Champions. He qualified at +6 in the final spot. He's just an 8th grader, so there's a lot of great golf talent coming up in the area. So I'm going to be really looking forward to seeing if one of those guys can win the individual title and whether or not Section 5 can win the team title again, which I think they're a strong favorite to run it back this year as well.
Did you say they won by 41 strokes?
They won by 41. It's 6 or so golfers. I don't know exactly how it works, multiple days. So, but it wasn't, didn't come down to the wire here. It might not be quite as a blowout as it sounds, but still, that's a decent margin.
Golly, sheesh. All right, then. Shout out to the golfers from Section 5. I heard that, and I was listening to the other stuff that you were saying, but I was still stuck on that stat that you said off the top. You ain't buried the lead. I give you your props for that one. No, that's really cool, though. Wow. I didn't know that Section 5. I knew that, golf's big here. Obviously, I ain't naive. Dad and AJ love golf, by the way. So if I work in the sports department, I'm going to know one thing. I'm going to know about golf in Rochester. Y'all, come on, y'all. But I ain't know that even the amateur levels was getting down like this. Listen, I heard the -3 score, and I was like, if there was at Valhalla, they might have had -12. But shout out to them for even doing that. Because listen, I tried golfing with them, AJ and Thad, and I be scared, and it don't mean nothing. And I know I get to pick the ball up and probably throw it if I wanted to. They actually playing for something real here, and they was able to go under. So the boys doing their thing. Even bigger stage this week, but based off the recent track record, they're not going to fold. They're going to be just fine down there at States.
Yeah, all the team events, sectionals going on this week. Me and Thad were actually playing a golf yesterday morning, afternoon over at Ravenwood. The Victor golf team was hosting Hilton, so they were getting ready for that. It's kind of been a tough golf season weather-wise. So I don't think these kids have had quite the preparation that they would in a perfect world like, but they're certainly showing out regardless. And then finally, a game that we're looking forward to watch in the next couple of weeks, whether or not it is already determined or there's just so many good teams in the bracket that no matter what the championship game is, it's going to be good. Carl, who do you got?
I'm gonna cheat here. Can I give you 3 games? I'm gonna give you the 2 semifinals and the game. Like all
Okay.
like that. The Class AA softball. This is gonna be really really good. I mean, more I think about it, Class AA girls basketball was dope. Same schools and softball doing their thing as well. Kind of like not all these teams, only Victor and Schrader, but these 4 teams remaining have been the top teams in AA all year, and they're linking up right now. Schrader taking on Victor today, as well as Menden taking on Thomas. And the cool thing about these 4 teams, they have the 4 pitchers that everyone knows here in Section 5, and they're all dominant, starting with Maddie Hicks at Thomas, Lily Goldberg for Menden, Olivia Steinnorth for Victor, and then Leona DeValder for Schrader. All 4 of those girls got gas. They can go. I mean, they've put up multiple double strikeout games, and all of these teams have impressive records and resumes to these point. Listen, Thomas is defending champs. They should feel like they should go in there and defend their crown. Schrader, all the pedigree in the world. They have a state championship in recent memory. They feel as if that they need to get back to the top. Victor, hey, we just took down Schrader, one of the top teams in the state. We deserve to be here as well. And then Menden, we haven't lost to a Section 5 team all year. We got Lily Goldberg. What's up? We doing our thing. So I can't wait. And I know all these games are going on right now, so I really can't tell you about the championship game itself. But listen, pay attention to the semifinals and the championship game. All of it's going to shake out, and literally the top team, y'all went through a gauntlet to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and the thing with these 4 teams and these 4 pitchers, like you mentioned, so much pressure on the pitchers because you know that the girl on the other side, she's not going to give up much, if anything. So, one mistake could cost you. And B, for the fielders out there, you might get 2 plays, 3 plays the entire game. And if you screw up one of them, that might be the end of your season just based on how, finite, small those margins are going to be. So unless they're striking out 20 girls a game, which could happen, it's happened this year already in these great games, the pressure is going to be on it. And no matter who comes out, in that championship game at Finger Lakes Community College on Saturday, they're going to earn it, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I saw the 4 teams, that was the first thing. Oh snap! These might be the 4. I'm not gonna say the only 4. These are the top 4 pitchers. I don't want to say by far, but in terms of name pedigree,
Nevaeh Ross, getting it done in Class D, she's up there too. But yeah,
but in terms of the pedigree, these girls have been getting it done all year, getting them to this point. One bad inning, one bad at bat can change your season. So hopefully it turns out hopefully it lives up to the billing that it has on paper.
My game is kind of a little bit of the same, kind of a bracket, but it is the Class B girls lacrosse, another bracket as my lawnmower goes on behind me, if you guys can hear that. Canandaigua Spencerport, probably Canandaigua was going to win that game. Victor Brighton, the team that we kind of talked about all year long as, hey guys, it's not just Canandaigua and Victor here. Brighton took them to overtime earlier. Brighton took Victor to overtime early in the regular season. And then Brighton beat Canandaigua 9-6. Canandaigua's only lost in Section 5 play all season. So you've got Brighton, who, took Victor to overtime, beat Canandaigua. You've got Canandaigua, 15-2 on the season this year. Only 1 blemish in Section 5 play. And then you got Victor coming in on, I believe, a multiple game winning, I believe a 9-game winning streak here. The defending state champs, and they brought back just about everybody. So no matter who comes out of this Class B bracket, gonna be a gauntlet, gonna be a great, sectional championship game, maybe the sectional championship game of the spring sports season. I can't wait to see what happens in that championship game.
It's funny because in recent memory, Class B has kind of been, hey, Victor and Canandaigua, who's going to come out on top, especially with Victor and their ascension the past few years. But to strike home this point about Brighton, earlier on in the year, AJ and I were like, AJ goes, hey, we need a game. Brighton down the street from us. You feel me? Victor in town, cool. No disrespect to the Bruins, by the way. We no disrespect, but y'all earned our respect after that.
Yeah.
I think first half that I was there. I'm like, I didn't get as many Victor highlights as we thought. I got more Brighton. And I figured Victor was gonna win. I did not think it was gonna go into overtime. So he ain't lying. Like, this Brighton team is no joke. They're on the same level as these the other two teams. But I did want to add that because that was kind of funny considering that going into that game, we'll see what Brighton can do. Leaving it, oh, was that like a one-off? And I was like, no, they're for real. They belong where they are today.
Yeah, I was doing Section 5 best last week, I believe, or maybe 2 weeks ago. I saw Canandaigua lost to Brighton. I'm like, okay, we're going to see who's the best for Brighton, and they're getting in this show because that is instantly pencil it in, pen it in, put your Sharpie, you're getting in my show. So, yeah, that should be a fun one. The semifinals game tonight, and I believe we're going to be at that Victor Brighton game. So we'll see if there's some fireworks for round 2. Well, that'll do it for us today on the High School Huddle. We'll be back. We're going to see if we can get a show for you next week. Once again, our schedule is kind of not lining up for a Thursday show, so we'll see if we can do anything. If not, we'll be back 2 weeks from now to talk about everything that happened in the sectional championship games and the Far West Regionals and preview some states. But we'll be back for you in the near time future to talk about some high school sports at some point. The High School Huddle wrapping up, the spring sports season wrapping up. We'll be with you every step of the way. We're going to have a lot of games on News 8, so tune in, rochesterfirst.com to catch all of that action. For Carl Jones, I'm AJ Feldman. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great championship week, and we'll see you next time.